I arrived in Manila on a humid evening, the kind where the air sticks to your skin like glue, and right away, the chaos hit me like a wave. The airport was a madhouse, long lines, pushy crowds, and whispers of scams where taxi drivers charged triple what they should, or worse, stories of luggage going missing thanks to shady staff. I'd heard the Philippines was all about paradise beaches and friendly smiles. But Manila felt like the opposite. Traffic jams that last hours, horns blaring non-stop, and streets lined with colorful jeepneys crammed with people hanging off the sides. My first night, I stayed in a cheap hostel in Makati, where the AC buzzed like a swarm of bees, and I wondered if I'd made a mistake coming here for a whole month. But that was just the start. And trust me, the real surprises were waiting outside the city. The next day I hopped on a bus to the north, heading to Banaue, famous for its ancient rice terraces that look like giant green steps carved into the mountains by hand over 2,000 years ago. Bouncing along potholed roads for 8 hours, I chatted with locals who shared stories of their families farming those terraces, passing down traditions through generations, but they also talked about how climate change is drying up the water sources, making it harder to keep the fields alive. When I finally got there, hiking through the misty hills at dawn, the view took my breath away. Endless layers of emerald rice paddies stretching to the horizon, with tiny villages dotted below where kids waved from bamboo huts. I spent a few days trekking with a guide named Maria, a tough woman in her 50s who grew up there and pointed out wild orchids and explained how the Ifugao people built these wonders without machines. But the truth? Many young folks are leaving for city jobs because farming barely pays. And tourism brings money, but also trash that clogs the rivers. One evening, sitting by a fire, Maria shared how her son moved to Manila for work, sending cash home but rarely visiting, highlighting the pull between tradition and modern life that tugs at the heart of the Philippines. From there, I flew south to Cebu, eager for some island vibes, and wow, did it deliver? The ferry to Moalboal was packed with families carrying live chickens and sacks of rice, everyone laughing and sharing snacks like it was a party. Diving in the clear waters off Pescador Island, I swam with schools of sardines that swirled like silver tornadoes and spotted sea turtles gliding by so close I could touch them. The beaches were postcard perfect, white sand under my toes, palm trees swaying in the breeze, and fresh grilled fish for dinner that cost next to nothing. I rented a scooter and zipped around, stopping at waterfalls like Kawasan Falls, where the turquoise pools invited me to jump in from rocky ledges, the cold water shocking but refreshing after the heat. But here's the truth I uncovered. Beneath the beauty, there's struggle. Locals told me about overfishing, depleting the reefs, and how big resorts are buying up land, pushing small fishermen out. One night, at a beach bonfire, I met a guy named Juan, who used to fish full-time but now guides tourists because the sea doesn't give enough anymore. He smiled wide, but his eyes showed worry about feeding his kids. The Filipino hospitality shone through everywhere, though, people inviting me into their homes for adobo, that tangy chicken stew simmered in soy and vinegar, or halo, a wild mix of shaved ice, fruits, and jelly that's like a party in a bowl. In Siargao, the surf capital, I tried riding waves for the first time, wiping out more than standing, but the laid-back vibe was addictive, with yoga classes on the beach and fresh coconuts cracked open on the spot. I stayed in a bamboo hut for cheap, waking to roosters and the ocean roar, and joined a group tour to the Magpupunco rock pools, natural tidal pools perfect for swimming when the tide's low. But the island life isn't all bliss. Power outages hit often, leaving us in the dark with candles. And during rainy season, Floods can turn roads to rivers. I saw poverty up close, too. Kids selling shells on the street instead of in school, and shanty towns where families live in makeshift homes pieced from scrap, relying on remittances from relatives abroad. It hit me hard one day in Palawan, exploring the underground river in Puerto Princesa, a UNESCO wonder with stalactites dripping like icicles in a massive cave system navigated by boat. The guide's flashlight revealed bats and ancient formations, but outside, vendors hawked souvenirs aggressively, and I learned how tourism booms. But locals often get the short end, with big companies pocketing most profits. El Nido was next, with its dramatic limestone cliffs rising from emerald lagoons, where I kayaked through hidden coves and snorkeled over coral gardens teeming with colorful fish. A boat tour to the Bakwit archipelago felt like stepping into a dream. Picnics on deserted islands, jumping off cliffs into the sea, and sunsets that turned the sky fiery orange. Yet, the truth emerged in conversations. Plastic pollution chokes the waters, from single-use bags tossed carelessly, and overdevelopment threatens these spots, with crowds sometimes ruining the peace. I faced challenges myself, getting scammed by a fake tour operator who took my money and vanished, or dealing with jeepney rides where I squeezed in with 20 others, sweating in the heat. Health-wise, I got a bout of food poisoning from street food, spending a day hugging the toilet. A reminder to be careful with what looks tasty but might not be clean. Manila's air pollution made my throat scratchy, and in rural areas, mosquitoes were relentless, forcing me to slather on repellent. But the people made it worth it. Their warmth, like the time a family in Bohol invited me to a fiesta, tables groaning with lechon, that crispy roasted pig, and karaoke blasting into the night. Everyone singing off-key but full of joy. In Bohol, I saw the chocolate hills, those bizarre mound-like formations that turn brown in dry season, and tarsiers, tiny wide-eyed primates clinging to branches. A river cruise on the Lobok included folk dances and buffet lunch, but locals whispered about corruption, how officials skim funds meant for infrastructure, leaving roads bumpy and bridges shaky. As my month wound down, back in Manila, I reflected on the contrasts, the stunning natural beauty versus the grinding poverty, the genuine kindness against the petty crimes, the vibrant culture clashing with modern pressures. The Philippines isn't just Instagram beaches, it's resilient people hustling daily, a mix of Spanish, American, and indigenous influences in everything from food to festivals. Costs were low. I lived on about $1,000, covering hostels, meals, and transport. But that affordability hides inequality, where many earn pennies while tourists splash cash. The truth? It's not perfect paradise. It's raw, beautiful, frustrating, and inspiring all at once. I left with a tan, new friends, and a deeper appreciation for a country that smiles through hardships. If you're thinking of going, pack patience, an open heart, and bug spray. You'll see the hype is real, but so are the realities no one warns you about. And that's the honest truth from my month in the Philippines.